college football playoff a little bit later this week. The intensity is really heating up in the NFL as well. Week 17 now in the books, and now Week 18 coming up. And it feels like every year we have some drama going into the final week of the regular season. This year is absolutely no different, Patrick. And I was watching the games yesterday with obviously like rooting for storylines going into the final week. Of course, everybody has their team, but if you're just a fan of the NFL, you want high drama in the final week of the regular season, and we're getting it in a few games.
I would just also like to point out that I won yesterday.
Nice.
I won
nice.
$190.
Nice.
You see this right here. That's a nice win. I was out in Maryland, so I wasn't in Alabama, obviously, betting. I was up in Maryland, in a state where you can bet.
Yep.
Coming back from spending some time with my fiance's family for Christmas. Again, I hope everyone had a great holiday week there. But I think this past week was one of those instances where it was like you could feel the so-called script brewing. And something that I like to abide by is we like to talk about our best bets on the show.
Yeah.
And I looked at the game yesterday. Well, more so the game on Saturday with the Ravens and the Packers, which we'll talk about. We'll talk about the Ravens Steelers game tomorrow.
Right.
And just seeing what Derrick Henry did in that game. And there's something that I like to call it, you always got to bet the script. And heading into that Browns-Steelers game yesterday, I just felt like there was some mischievous activity going on around there. And Shedeur Sanders tried every chance he had to throw the game away, but Aaron Rodgers also did the same thing. So it's like, who even wants to win that division? But this one, you're going to almost say the same thing in the NFC South. The Panthers and Tampa Bay both lost this past week, setting up a winner-take-all spot in the wild card round. You'll win the NFC South. You'll host the game, which is still ridiculous because if the Buccaneers win this game, they'll have a losing record, and they can host a first-round playoff game, which is just mind-boggling. That should just never exist.
Right.
Like, go to the NBA where you just have straight seating.
Yes.
Like, this is just absolutely utter madness.
100%. And if you take a look at it, I mean, like that NFC South has just been, it feels like every year it's a different winner. It's such a weird division. And Tampa Bay looked to be the not only the favorite, but they were looking to be in a really good space there to be able to win the division with ease. And make it. Mbuka looks really good to start the season off. Obviously, Baker was playing at an MVP level at the beginning of the season. Like Todd Bowles had solidified himself as a coach. Mike Evans was out there looking great. Then they got bit by the injury bug. Chris Godwin gets hurt. Bucky Irving gets hurt. And at the same time, Carolina's over there just building confidence day by day with former Alabama quarterback Bryce Young.
Yeah, and it seemed like we were just talking about 2 months ago about how, hey, Baker Mayfield might win the MVP this year. A lot of talk in the offseason was about how will the departure of Liam Cohen actually affect this team heading up to Jacksonville. We've seen what he's been able to do. He's the first head coach to win 12-plus games after a team won, I think, 4 or less games in the year before. So, I mean, just unreal turnaround there in good old Saxonville, as they used to call it. But it's just starting to kind of blow my mind a little bit because usually when you get healthy, you should be getting better.
Correct.
And the Buccaneers were not healthy in the beginning of the year. They obviously had to deal with injuries to Mike Evans. He came back for a game, and then he injured his collarbone, so then had to go back on IR. Chris Godwin was hurt. But now they have all these guys back, and they just cannot seem to string it together. And Baker Mayfield just all of a sudden just cannot seem to, take care of the football. 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions in the last 3 games. I'd like to get your input on this because it almost feels like since Mike Evans has come back, he's trying so hard to keep that 1,000-yard streak alive that's just not going to happen. So he's forcing all of these passes, and they ended up getting picked off. I mean, it seemed like, I don't know if you were watching the Panthers game literally just 2 weeks ago, but the game-sealing interception, he's just trying to force it to Mike Evans. Like, what are you doing? Right.
And it just felt like, okay, obviously, Mike Evans is kind of your go-to guy, but you're right. It felt like at the beginning of the season, it was a more natural flow to the offense. And now it does feel more forced to get these guys the football, guys like Mike Evans, because it felt like at the beginning of the year with the emergence of Mbuka, Evans was like, not necessarily the second target, but he just felt like another nice piece to this offense. And you're right. I mean, the 1,000-yard streak I don't think it's going to get broken at all outside of just some crazy games. And it looks like they're trying to force those crazy games. There you saw Baker Mayfield's stats over the last 2 games. But you're right. It feels like this team is now healthy, but this team feels fractured in a way, even though they're all coming together. And that was the biggest thing, because when they were winning, when they were banged up, you were like, oh, wait, just wait till they get healthy, and this team will look sensational. Yes. And it's looked everything but.
I'm going to make a comparison, and it hurts me to make this comparison.
Oh, okay.
This year's Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the equivalent of this year's New York Mets.
Just
had the division locked away.
Up, yeah.
Halfway through the year.
Right.
And then out of nowhere, just started losing these games in inexplicable fashion to the point where you lose the game against Carolina in Charlotte just 2 weeks ago, and you've just been on this free fall. Again, the Mets were on that free fall too. And
towards the end of the year,
Towards the end of the year, they got swept by the Phillies.
It just felt like the whole time you kept saying, well, they'll regroup. They'll find their way, both with the Mets and with the Bucs.
But in both instances, it's going to come down to the last game of the year. All you have to do is win the game, and you're in the playoffs. So, like, I just know from experience, because you look at that Mets-Marlins game to end the year, all they had to do was win the game, and they were in the playoff.
Against a hapless Marlins team that was not going anywhere.
And the only difference with this one is, obviously, whoever wins this game is going to be in the playoffs, but it's just been such a shocking development that almost makes me think, if they lose this game, there is absolutely no saving Todd Bowles.
No,
he is so far gone. If they lose this game, you just cannot come back from this and expect to have your job the next year, because I mean, all the play calling has basically been on him, and it just goes to show you how good of a play caller Liam Cohen was.
Yeah. We're seeing whenever teams lose their coordinators, the drop off that they had the following those teams had the following year. The Lions are now officially eliminated out of the playoffs as well. They lost their offensive coordinator in Ben Johnson, who's now killing it right now with the Chicago Bears. They lost their defensive coordinator in Aaron Glenn, who's struggling with the Jets. Who doesn't struggle with the Jets? But you're right. It feels like this team has kind of lost a step. And I'm with you. Todd Bowles has been a great coach, but you saw him lose his cool. What was it? Maybe 3 weeks ago now, maybe 4 weeks ago now.
The Atlanta game.
Yes, after Atlanta, and talks about discipline. Talked about the want to, the desire. It wasn't the tangible things. It wasn't we're banged up or whatever. This was all like effort stuff. And it feels like if that's what the head coach is saying out loud, then it must have been brewing for a really long time, and they just have felt really disjointed ever since then.
Look, I think they are obviously on the wrong side of the momentum train. I think the Panthers have to come into this game with all the confidence in the world, even though they had a poor showing against Seattle. But, I mean, a lot of teams do have a poor showing against the Seahawks defense this year. But, I mean, Bryce Young had 50-something pass yards. And honestly, the defense ended up keeping them in this game here. But it's one of those things where it's like, can Bryce Young – it seemed like just a few years ago. And here's the thing. Here's what I will say. With how good some of these rookie quarterbacks have played, it almost puts so much pressure on these guys that take a little bit of time to develop.
Yes.
And it seemed like we were writing Bryce Young off, how he's a bust after his first year.
Way too early,
Way too early. But, I mean, he's now it's in short little bursts still. Yeah. But there are glimpses of like, hey, here's the guy who is the number 1 overall pick, but still struggles at times. But he's going to have one major game this Saturday against Tampa Bay, in Tampa Bay, a road environment, a division on the line.
Yeah. 2,700 yards for the season so far, 21 touchdowns, 10 interceptions for Bryce Young. I think kind of the change point for him was when he got hurt. A year, I think it was last year when he got hurt. He was able to watch the game, and I remember there was a quarterbacks that were talking about how much they're able to absorb when they're not playing. They're watching their backup go out there and play. They could process the game a little bit differently. Yeah. I feel like ever since then he is, like as you mentioned, it's been a little up and down as far as the production goes, but you're seeing more of those good games, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he had to watch some games for a while, something he didn't do at Mater Dei High School when he was in California just destroying it. Something he didn't do much at Alabama, especially when he was, rolling offensively, but something he had to do in the pros, and I think it helped reset him.
And I think one major addition for him this year is the emergence of Rico Dowdle.
Yeah,
which
100%.
I mean, the Cowboys can't be too upset about letting him go because they had
they got
Javonte Williams,
Javonte
who
Williams,
just had
yeah.
a 1,000-yard rushing season. So
Right.
I mean, it was a win-win no matter what. I think Javonte came at a little bit of a lower price tag, so I think
Correct.
the Cowboys might have won there. But the emergence of Rico Dowdle for this Panthers offense, Tenero McMillan, who was dealing with an illness this past weekend, should be good to go. Should be 100% by the time this one kicks off. But it's going to really come down to this. I wouldn't be shocked if Tampa ends up losing this game.
Yeah.
And, just I know they fire the cannons, but they might just, jam and then just the ship just implodes.
Exactly. Two former SEC quarterbacks in this matchup. Bryce Young, former Alabama quarterback, and former Oklahoma star in Baker Mayfield. We got a chance to hear from Mayfield about this team and just the fact that they're not clicking right now.
The first interception really just got to give J-Mac a ball more towards the sideline. He was open. That wasn't a decision-making thing by any means. Should have given him a better ball. Physical mistakes are going to happen, but then later on, some of those penalties really hurt us to not get some points, and then obviously the blocked field goal. So that's just a matter of execution of not shooting yourselves in the foot in the first half. In the second half, that second interception, 21 did a good job of he's rolling back to the middle of the field. It's cover 3, but he went off my eyes and reacted and stopped and went back for it. So for me, it's don't just assume that he's going to be where he's supposed to be. But football players make plays, and he made a good play right there and read my eyes. So offensively, it comes back to execution. We obviously gave ourselves a fighting chance right there, but didn't do enough, and those turnovers obviously crushed us. So got to come back, and here's the thing: we still have a chance next week. We have been blessed with a chance next week, and guys need to handle it the right way. I think Levante spoke to the team right after the game and hit the nail on the head. So got to respond.